Steph Curry. Interesting choice, I know, at number 10. This is my own opinion, and it wasn't informed by anyone else. I'm actually very proud of that. I feel like I'm very influenced by other people's opinions in a lot of ways. But if I were a betting man, and if I were placing bets, I don't think Steph Curry at 5,000 isn't a bad... That is not a bad bet, because he could do it. Here's the thing you need to consider. You're not looking at who is most likely to have the most votes. It's who's most likely to get hot and have a good MVP narrative and potentially actually be the MVP. And I'll get into this a little bit later, but you don't want the player that is going to be the guaranteed 5th most MVP votes. You know, you don't want a guy who's most likely going to be middle of the road. You're going to want to take some risks for MVP. You're going to want a guy that really has the potential. So while Steph Curry probably will not be the MVP, his team's not good enough. He's older. He's likely to get injured. He might not even make the 65 games. Granted, he did play 74 games last year. So if you're basing it on lately, he's good and he stays healthy. So it could happen. He's most likely not going to get very many MVP votes. Last year, he got 0 MVP votes. That's fine. I still think he could do it. He could get hot. So let's talk about it. These are the projected totals per 36 for next season. And Basketball Reference has them. That's where I got these from. So when you're factoring them in, 28 points in 36 minutes, usually players don't play 36 minutes on average for the entire season. Usually they're floating around like 32 because they'll get subbed out if they're winning by a ton. Rarely would 36 would be quite a bit of the game, right? It's a long time. It's everything but, oh my God, 48 minutes a game, 36 minutes, it's 3 full quarters. I don't know. On average, they don't play that long though. So now you know, that's what these are. These are the projected totals from next year. I think he could do it. Because Buddy Hield's going to be on the team. He's a better shooter at this point in his career than Klay Thompson. Could draw, and maybe the other guys on the team get better at three-point shooting, and that takes a little bit of the pressure off Steph Curry. He was 40% from 3 last year. I don't think he's ever been less than 38% from 3. And his PER was 20 last year on a really bad team. If the Golden State Warriors turn it around, I don't think it's crazy to think that Steph Curry could be in the MVP conversation. I think he was a little bit last year. It was just that the Golden State Warriors were so bad. That's it. So I really don't think plus 5,000 is crazy for Steph Curry. Do I have any other notes? He's going to need more attempts. Also, he was the clutch player of the year last year. Don't forget. And he was 3rd team All-NBA. Steph Curry is still very much relevant in the NBA. Also, who played in the Olympics? Who were the stars of the Olympics? It was the old heads. The old heads still got it. Moving on to our next old head is Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant, I'm not a KD guy. I am not. I criticize him all the time. He's not one of my favorite players in terms of attitude. I don't hate him, but he's not one of my guys. But he's definitely going to be in the MVP conversation next year. He got 1 vote last year, which isn't bad. Getting 1 MVP vote, he was at the very bottom. So there's, of the top 10 in voting, or anyone that got an MVP vote, he was the lowest. I believe there were 10 players that actually got MVP votes. Durant got 1 vote. I think someone must have voted for him as their 3rd Nami, you know? So he was in it, and he is still good. The Suns are going to be better, even though the projected win total is really low. I have full confidence that the Suns are going to be a lot better, and I have confidence that Kevin Durant is really good, and he's very clutch, and he's still really tall and can shoot over people. His floor is definitely an all-star. Same thing with Steph. Floor is he's going to be in the all-star game. I would almost put... My only fear is that Kevin Durant might miss over 60. He might not make the 65-game threshold, potentially. That would be the only reason he wouldn't be All-NBA, is because every year it seems like he does have a stint where he misses games. Not last year, though. He was second team all NBA. So Vegas has him at plus 6,600. You bet $100, you could win $6,600. That's not. I mean, I'm not a gambler because I'm not. I have a weird. I just want more. I realize that with gambling, it's not about can I actually make a little money off this. It's can I want more. Can I change my life? I only want to bet an amount of money that I can change my life with. And I realized I'm like, oh, I have gambling addiction in my head. So I don't do it. But Kevin Durant is there. If you look at Vegas odds, he's very low on the Vegas odds. I think he's a really great bet, right? Am I crazy? Would you rather think Devin Booker has a higher likelihood of being the MVP? Maybe you do. Durant was better than Booker last year. So I think it's going to be Kevin Durant's team until he's not on the team anymore. Sorry, Devin Booker. Devin Booker, great player. I thought he was going to be a perennial first-team All-NBA guy. Devin Booker was, but he only did it one time. So, what are you going to do? This ain't about Devin Booker. So, these are my... I wouldn't take a Ja Morant. I wouldn't take a Jalen Brunson. I just wouldn't. I think they're going to be good. I think they're going to get votes, but I don't think they could ever be the MVP. I don't think they could ever... Maybe in a few years, but at this point, I have no confidence that either of those guys, I could see them actually... Who's the MVP trophy named after now? Is it Michael Jordan? Did Michael Jordan get the MVP? I'm not looking it up. I got my slideshow up. You tell me. Tell me in the comments. Let's keep it pushing. All right. I'm not being a hot take guy. I really think the fact that Zion has lost so much weight is going to be really helpful for his game. I think he's gonna. I mean, he looks like Duke Zion, but at the same time, I think Duke Zion had more muscle. Zion actually looks he looks lean, but he also doesn't look bulky. You remember when Zion was at Duke? People were saying he was fat then. People were criticizing him for being a fat guy when he was at Duke. Do you remember that? I remember. People were like, oh, he's fat. And I'm like, he's not fat. Goodness sake. I think he had a layer of fat. It was like baby fat. It is interesting where people put fat on their bodies. Because last year he might have been obese. I don't know. I don't know what qualifies. But I think the weight had a lot to do with his problems. So I think we're really going to get the Zion that we've all been expecting. And he's plus 10,000 in MVP odds. So if you bet $100, you could win 10 grand. Unless my math's off, I don't think I'm wrong here. Someone told me how it works, and it's very simple. If you bet $100, the plus whatever is how much money you would win. Not bad. Not bad. I think I'm higher on the Pelicans as well. I think they're going to be good. I think they're going to get a lot of points. I think Zion's going to lead that team. I think he's the 8th most likely to be MVP. I think we're going to see a defensive side of Zion as well. What else do I got in my notes? He played 75 games last year. That's a lot of games. If we could get some defense out of him, we could see an all-time field goal percent. Who has the all-time field goal percentage in a season? Mitchell Robinson. I did not know that. I was curious to see who it was. It's Mitchell Robinson with like 71% from field goal range. Maybe Zion could, of course he's going to be higher volume. He might not get there, but he has a great field goal percentage, and I'm really excited for this season. The floor for him is he gets injured and he misses the whole season. He gets injured in like preseason and tears his, meniscus or ACL. One of those things you need to have in place to play basketball or something. There's too many muscles in the body. We need less muscles in the body. You need like 4 muscles in the body. There's like 100 muscles and everyone's pulling all of them all the time. Less muscles is what. Anthony Edwards is here. The thing is, it's the scoring. When I was doing my research, I was like, what are people critical of Anthony Edwards for? It's the scoring. He would have to boost up his scoring a bit because it's below Shay. I always compare Anthony Edwards to Shay. I don't know why. Because they're similar. I think Shay was drafted in 2018. Edwards was drafted in 2020, I believe. But I compare the two all the time. Shay's just such a better player, and I couldn't see... Anthony Edwards would have to have a better field goal percentage. Again, Shay's percentage from three-point line is not as good as Anthony Edwards. But we would just need more scoring from Anthony Edwards. Also, everyone likes Anthony Edwards, because you have to keep in mind, people vote for MVP. People shouldn't vote for MVP. It should just be some mathematical equation that's an open book and everyone agrees on and says, hey, yeah, that's a good equation. Because then you can complain. We could all say, okay, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with this equation being who the MVP is. Include team wins, so we don't have like a good stats bad team guy that wins the MVP. And then we would just know who the MVP is, and there would be no we wouldn't have to bring race into it. We couldn't bring race into it, because that's always the weird part when people on ESPN shoot, now race is involved, and it gets weird. What was I talking about? Anthony Edwards. So he's going to have to take a leap forward. He's obviously the leader of that team. He's obviously really good. We all like him. He takes responsibility for his team's success. Floor for him is third-team All-NBA. I don't see him being any less than third-team All-NBA. I see him being second-team All-NBA. If he takes a leap up, it would be first-team All-NBA. I don't see him getting the MVP. But I still have him at 7. He still has way higher likelihood than Zion Williamson. I'm doing my best to not say... I'm trying to leave it silent so I don't add a filler when I'm speaking. It's more difficult than it would seem. Jayson Tatum, this is the guy I would never bet on. So let's go back. Keep in mind, Anthony Edwards plus 1,400. Jayson Tatum plus 2,500. Isn't that wild? Edwards has better odds than Tatum to win MVP. The Jayson Tatum disrespect is getting crazy. I understand he didn't shoot very well in the Olympics, so he got benched, which it's got to be an interesting summer for him. You win the finals, but you don't get the finals MVP, and you have to deal with everyone talking about it all the time. The fact that Jaylen Brown got it, and you're happy for your teammate, but you're also confronted constantly with people asking you if you're disappointed that you didn't get the finals MVP and how you feel about it. Because there is part of you that has to think, yeah, I kind of wanted it. It would have been cool. I always imagined myself getting it. I'm very happy for my teammate, but I am ambivalent. I thought it would be me. And then you get benched in the Olympics. So it's this very strange situation where you're coming into the NBA season as the reigning champion, but you still feel a little bit bad about yourself. So, and your Vegas odds to win the MVP is plus 2,500, and you've kind of finished in the top 10 in voting every year. One year you were 4th in MVP voting. I like Tatum because he plays. Personality, not my guy, but I really respect the hell out of him, and I'm rooting for him. I think he's had, I just think he's been unfairly disrespected. The plus 2,500 is, it makes sense though, because more than likely he might finish 5th in MVP voting. He's like a hard 5th, where I would place a bet on him being at least in the top 5 in MVP voting. That's an easy bet, but I would never place a bet on him being the MVP. It just isn't happening. His team is too good. His shooting percentages aren't good enough. He's a great regular season player, but he's not an exceptional regular season player. I feel like I've disrespected Tatum and praised him in this last 5 minutes, where I don't even know how I feel about Tatum. I'm plus on him. I think he's a good guy too. Embiid is going to get the MVP if he stays healthy. I believe that. I think it's true. His PER last year was 34.38. Granted, I think he played 42 games. and it doesn't really count because he didn't play enough games, but I believe I think it's by far the best PER of all time, player efficiency rating, which people do respect a lot. People do take seriously. When you're talking PER, I haven't said this in a long time, but the most average player in the league is going to be 15 PER. It's a zero-sum game, right? So if you're below 15, that means you are a below average player in the league. Still, you can still be a great rotation player, but you fall into the 225 of the lower percentile. If you're above 15, you are in the upper percentile of players in the league. He doubled it. He is doing the work of two average players in the league, which is pretty incredible. So his floor is injured, doesn't play, because it happens a lot. It does. His Vegas odds are plus 650. It's not bad. It's not bad because he might stay healthy. It's sort of a 50-50 chance, in my opinion, that he does stay healthy for the regular season. Two things you do need to consider, though, is in the middle of the season, while he was injured, they did let people get away with a lot more fouling. And a lot of his points and his efficiency came from getting to the free throw line, which I respect. I don't disrespect that. Is it fun to watch? No, of course not. It's not fun to watch guys get free throws. But I gotta say, you gotta respect a good grift. And that might have been taken away from him. Also, the Sixers might keep him on ice toward the end of the regular season, so he might fall under the 65 game threshold. It's possible because they want to keep him healthy. And the Sixers' main goal, win the finals, not getting Joel an MVP, because they already did that and they already accomplished that goal of getting their buddy, their man, an MVP. Shay is he's probably the best. Okay, so they have Embiid scoring 34 points a game next year, probably getting the scoring title. Shay's 31 points a game. That's what separates him from a lot of guys lower on the list. Now we're in a place where the guys that are below this just aren't going to get enough points to be MVP. Now that we're at 4, I think we're at a point where these guys are actually in the conversation. Everyone below that, I had to have a list of 10. These are the guys that I actually have confidence are going to be up there at the end of the year. And they were the guys that were up there at the beginning of last year too, or at the end of last year. So it's not a bold take, but hey, it's probably what's going to happen. And yeah, I have something very interesting for you guys. Okay, Shay got DPOY votes. He got Clutch Player of the Year votes. I didn't know this. He actually got Most Improved Player votes. He was first team All-NBA the year before, and then he was first team All-NBA again. He was first team All-NBA and then got Most Improved Player votes. You would never expect a guy to make first team All-NBA, be the best player at his position, and then take a leap up. And he was second in MVP votes last year, which I kind of thought was interesting because I thought it would be Luka was going to be. I kind of thought Luka was going to get the MVP. We'll get to him in a second, but this guy is great, and I think he might need to do even less on defense with the addition of Caruso and Hartenstein, I don't remember which one it was. You're going to tell me. So I have him at 4. It's plus 475. Yeah. This seems very reasonable to me. Giannis plus 650. So it's more likely, the Vegas odds have him less likely to win the MVP than Shay. I think people are starting to feel like Giannis might be getting older. That feels like the vibe to me. He was injured in the playoffs. Remember, he hurt his ass, I believe, the year before in the playoffs. The cracks, I think, are starting to show a little bit. He's one of the greatest players of all time, but I think we are seeing the cracks, and I think one of the things that people loved about him so much and thought so highly of him was because there were no cracks. Remember when his knee bent backwards? Everyone said, and he still played. I think he sat one game maybe. This was in the finals. I think it was in the Eastern Conference Finals one year. He came back and he just, I'm just going to keep playing, even though we all saw him hyperextend his knee. But I think now people have kind of lost a little bit of faith in him. He's obviously still incredible. You know what I mean? I'm not saying we don't believe he can do anything anymore. I'm just saying we've lost a little bit. You know, he's not Superman anymore. But I still think he can do it, and everything's always his fault. He blames himself, and that's very important as the leader of a team, is to say, hey, what can I do better? And even if that's saying, what can you do better? What if even if that means calling out a teammate? He'll be first team All-NBA. That's his floor. He's been first team All-NBA the last 3 or 4 years. That's kind of become him, Luka, Tatum. That's kind of been their floor. What do I have as Tatum's floor? I have first team All-NBA. I had to give it to him. He's been first team All-NBA the last 3 years. If he was, I don't know. We're done. The Tatum slide's done. Okay. Here's the thing. Second round exit in the playoffs, and I'm the Jokic slut. I love Jokic. He's my favorite player. But you can't lose in the second round of the playoffs. You can't win the MVP, lose in the second round of the playoffs, and win the MVP the following year. A lot of this is narrative. A lot of this is based on what you did the year before. It's human beings voting. And sorry, I have to cough. No, I don't. Their perception of you is what they're voting on. And it's the most important thing. So if you lose in the second round of the playoffs, people are they're going to vote for you, but they're going to make sure that you don't win. He would have to, I wrote down a couple things that he would have to do if he did want to win. He would have to average a triple-double season. He would. I don't believe in triple-doubles. I hate triple-doubles. I think we fetishize them way too much. That being said, we fetishize them way too much. So if he ends next season with averaging a triple-double, that's enough for people who are like, that's pretty crazy, dude. What do we get? We got to vote for him. Average triple-double. Russ did it. We gave him the MVP. I could see that. Or shooting 37% from three. Because he's lost a lot of his confidence from three. So is Giannis, by the way. I forgot to mention that. A lot of these guys were shooting a lot of threes. And that was part of their game, at least. Not being afraid to shoot the threes. But they've lost a lot of their confidence in that way. So I think he could be the best player in the league next year. But not win the MVP. And then the number one guy is Luka. Luka has been odds-on favorite for the last 4 years to win MVP. And I still feel like he could do it. So it's interesting. It's sort of like the Clippers. Everyone was always high on the Clippers every year over the last 5 years. Because it still felt like it could happen. We all thought it could happen. It never felt less likely every year they lost. But it feels this way with Luka, where you have to say, yeah, I'll put a bet on that. Yeah, it feels like it could happen. But him making the finals last year, again, remember, it's perception. It's narrative from the year before. He made the finals. They're going to reward it. And his points, rebounds, assists were basically the same as Jokic last year, but he had a lot more points. Luka is never going to be a defender. Someone left a comment on my other channel, and they said their hot take was, oh, Luka's going to figure out defense and be a good perimeter defender. I could never see that happening. I couldn't see that happening because I've watched Luka play defense, and I think it's a very undeveloped skill for him. So I don't see that happening, but I don't believe it matters. I think he's going to get the MVP. And I think he's going to put up some insane numbers, and I think he's going to stay healthy. We'll see what the Mavs do, though. So I think if the Mavs finish in the top 3 in the West, I think it's Luka's MVP. Because I have no doubt in my mind that he's not. I have no doubt in my mind that the NBA wants to give it to him, and he's going to put up insane numbers. And it won't even matter his efficiency. People want to give it to him. They just do. So, thank you for being here. Be good to your mothers. Eat a corn dog.